Morgan, so great to have you on the podcast. Thank you so much for joining us. Where do we find you today then? Somewhere in the dark climes of
Yeah,
Sweden, I believe.
yeah. Yeah, no, thank you so much for having me. Yes, I am in Sweden. I'm in Gothenburg, and it is a very gloomy day today, which is sad. But last week it was snowing, which was lovely to wake up
Yes.
to snow.
Oh.
And when we have some blue days, so like blue skies, I'm like, right, I'm just gonna be out as long as I can in the
Mm.
morning and just like actually get some light. But yeah, today's a bit of a gloomy day, so it's quite nice to have it as a rest day.
Yeah, because I was in Sweden over the weekend and I couldn't believe how early it gets dark. It was like
Yeah,
2:30, 3 o'clock was kind of like already feeling like a sort of
yeah.
7 p.m. And then I found it really confusing as to when to eat because I was like,
No,
is
that's
it
so
evening?
true. Like, I think it was yesterday or the day before, I was just coming home from town and I was like, oh, the sunset over the city, like post the photo. And I was like, oh, it must be like bedtime. And I think it was 4 o'clock. I was like, oh my God. Awful.
Is it like a weird shift in mentality then? Yeah, if you spend a lot of your life in Britain and yeah, I guess in Sweden there must be like there's still a whole load that happens after it gets
Yeah.
dark. Whereas here everything just sort of winds down, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Everyone gets home, pops the telly on, that's it, we're done.
Yeah. Yeah. It's weird because I mean, the sunset here and in England is pretty similar, to be honest, like maybe like a few minutes different, to be honest. But I just feel like the Swedes, well, especially in Gothenburg, they just like embrace winter. Like, I don't know, it's just that sense of like being like cozy and like all the lights are everywhere and people are just like really social in the evenings and like all the restaurants are always packed all winter. And it's just like, yeah, it's almost like the darkness doesn't really phase them. So it's definitely a nice environment to be in for winter.
Well, and you've been through yeah, a big change with spending that extra time in
Yeah.
Sweden and yeah, your coaching journey. You've had a few different coaches over your career,
Yeah.
and yeah, to see you make the move at this stage in your career to go all the way out to Sweden, to spend a significant amount of time in Sweden, like, yeah, why did you? Yeah, why did you
Yeah.
feel like that was the right decision for you?
Yeah, no, yeah, it's been like a kind of crazy journey the last few years with coaches. But yeah, so my dad coached me until I was 18, until I went to Loughborough. I actually went to Loughborough when I was 19, so after Rio. And then I was in Loughborough from the age of 19 to, well, last year, so 27. And I think I really spent my time there, and I don't think I could have spent any longer, to be honest. It wasn't like anything to do with Loughborough. I just think growing up in like that environment, like in a university environment, and seeing a lot of my uni friends like leave, and like I'm still felt like almost like the same person, like I hadn't maybe like had that growth. And yeah, I think I just kind of outgrew the environment and needed a change to kind of restart my athletics career in a way.
Mm.
It is weirdly how it felt this year. Like, it did feel like I was just starting fresh, and to be able to start fresh at 28, when I had my first international, I think when I was 17, my first senior champs. So yeah, to start fresh like 11 years later feels crazy, but it also felt like very necessary. And yeah, the move to Sweden was I think people were like, that's a bit of a strange choice, of all the places to go. Like, wouldn't you rather go to somewhere warm? Gone to like somewhere even colder than the UK. But yeah, no, it was definitely the best move.
So did it feel like it was taking its toll on you a bit? I get what you were saying with Loughborough of like needing that fresh start, maybe a change in scenery and environment. But I just wonder
Mm.
mentally for you as well, where were you at that point?
Yeah, I think yeah, change of environment was important. Just seeing somewhere else, and just I think for me as well, it was like everything was just about athletics all the time. And it is like a really good place to be in terms of like that, having that mentality, but also it was really draining. I'd sometimes find myself getting to competitions or getting to a championships almost drained because the whole year had just been so focused on this one thing. I lived so close to the track, and it was just like track home every day. And it just got to a point where I was like, I'm actually not enjoying the sport anymore because yeah, it's all I do. And yeah, it was, I guess, a element of burnout. I think going
Mm.
into the Olympic year, last year, it was difficult because I knew it was Olympics and obviously I wanted to do well, but I just didn't really have that drive anymore. I think I'd really lost that. And yeah, the biggest way for me to almost get over that was to change that environment and just start fresh.
I guess it's the thing, isn't it? Like everything moves in Olympic cycles, and you almost accept sort of compromises into that Olympics. You go, I have to do everything. I have to stay dialed in. I have to do this and this. And it's only after that you can sort of lift your head up and say, you know what? Something needs to be different. And I guess it's a choice, isn't it? People either walk away from competing at that point, or they decide, you know, in order to thrive in another cycle, I've got to change something.
Yeah. And I had like quite a honest conversation with Robbie Gravaz, who was obviously coaching me in like the after fuzz. So it was like Tokyo to Paris, that kind of Olympic cycle. And we'd spoken actually in 2024 year, and I was like, I can't do this again for another year. Like, I'm really not enjoying my environment. Like, the coaching was great, my training partner was great, all my friends, everything about Loughborough was great. But just for me personally, I was like, I can't do it anymore. So we had this conversation where I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do next year. But yeah, I can't be here. And then, that was like the conversation. And then he ended up not wanting to carry on coaching either. So it was quite like an organic end. And for me, it just made sense at that time to kind of go.
So,
and
you go, Hannah.
I was going to say, I think people kind of in the field community in Europe will know Yannick Tregaro. They'll know him as a coach, but particularly Brits, like, I don't think they'll really know his coaching history. Like, I don't know, why did you choose specifically the setup you've gone to?
Yeah, I think his coaching history was like probably the main reason I decided to move. I actually just initially spoke to him after Paris. I didn't think I wanted to do high jump again. I was like, right, I think I'm done with high jump now. I think that's kind of like me, done with high jump. Well, not entirely. I wanted to go back to heptathlon or pentathlon. I was like, I think I just want to go back into multis. So I had this chat with Yannick, which like, now looking back at it, I'm like, I went to a high jump coach to talk about multis training.
Still a part of you that was
I think it's still a part of me that was like, oh, okay, well, I probably should have a little foot in high jump still. Obviously it is a heptathlon event, so I was like, I'm not sure if I want to do heptathlon or high jump this year. And I basically just wanted to weigh up my options, and I just wanted something fresh. And I basically just wanted a year of just seeing where I'm at and just not really putting any pressure on high jumping. So I kind of had this chat with Yannick where we're like, we're going to do multis training and then just kind of see how that goes, obviously with mostly a high jump focus. And it then organically moved into just high jump. But I just really liked his philosophy in that initial conversation. Like, all his athletes kind of train the same. We all do like multi training. Everyone does different events, like long jump. I've done like long jump, triple jump, hurdles this year, like some shot put throws, and just like a multi like approach to training. And I think that's actually all I needed. I don't think I needed to do a heptathlon, needed to do a pentathlon. I think I just needed not to do the exact same thing every single day. And I got to a point in 2024 and I was like, I literally can't look at another bar. Like, I don't want to high jump. This is really boring and I'm not enjoying it. So we changed my run up. So then it felt like a bit of a different event. We changed my way of training, and it was just really refreshing to have a coach who was just up for that challenge almost, of having someone come to him as like an elite high jumper not wanting to do high jump anymore was not the easiest thing.
He probably quite enjoyed the challenge of it. He's like, how do we make her fall in love again?
Exactly.
How quickly did you find yourself enjoying your new environment then, moving to Sweden? Because it sounds like it was really refreshing, but were there parts of you that were a bit nervous and apprehensive as well?
So I think my biggest fear was like the training program. Like, I'd seen videos of people like the Swedish kind of training. As I knew it's a lot of heavy weights, a lot of plyometrics, and a lot very demanding on the body basically. And I was a bit fearful because I was like, I've trained almost like the exact same program for the last maybe like almost 10 years, and I knew that program just suited my body. And touch wood, I hadn't had many injuries, a few niggles, but I think that was my biggest fear. I was like, I don't know if my body's going to cope with this training. So Yannick was like, I'll just come for 10 days. I think I came for 10 days in November. He's like, just see if you like the program and like this way of training. Because there's no point almost like, just going straight into it. If I get there and I just don't like Sweden, don't like the setup, don't like the way of training. Literally from day one, like I absolutely loved it. And it was very much like the training I did when I was younger. So there was so many of those elements, which I think really suited me. So it was quite a quick initial meeting, and then I was like, I love this program. I can really see like myself doing well here. I didn't know how long it would take, and a lot of people were like, don't expect anything in the first year, just kind of like feel your way through it. It's a big change in how I've trained and my run up and everything. So I wasn't really going in it thinking, okay, this year's going to be the best year. It was just like, let's just see how it goes.
So was it a surprise then for you to find, you had a consistency across the year, and then of course the wonderful 2-meter jump at the Diamond League final that everyone loved, and were you surprised to find those results then so quickly?
I think I was. Indoors was okay. It was a bit up and down. Like I started, I think I jumped 88, 89. Like the first 4 comps, I couldn't get over 90, which I think was a bit of maybe like a psychological block. But also I changed my run up from like a standing approach to a rolling approach, and I was really struggling with the run up and with like we had made so many different technical changes, and I think I was just it was like feeling it out, and I did struggle a bit indoors with that. But ended up coming 5th at European indoors. I think I jumped 93 or something indoors, so it was a good indoor season. And going into the outdoors, I was like, right, okay, I'm just gonna like just let it happen, and just every single competition have no expectations, just jump as high as I can. And it was definitely my most consistent season. And that was a bit of a surprise, that it all clicked that quickly and so consistently as well. It wasn't just like a couple of competitions where I jumped in the mid-90s. It was like pretty much every competition in summer. So that was good.
Now, and you've had, like you cited it, you've had a decade sort of competing at the top level, and maybe we'll have time to go into sort of starting as a heptathlete and and everything like that. But it's exhausting putting yourself out there on the stage, exposing yourself, building yourself up for those championships year on year on year. Do you feel like that sort of freshness you found in training is that coming to the championships as well? Are you sort of standing on those? What would you call it? The runway? It's not the runway, is it? So the
standing on your mark.
The zone.
Exactly.
Down in the stadium on the track. Like, do you feel you refresh there in that competition environment as well?
Yeah, it's a difficult one because I have been. So my first World Championships in 2015 in Beijing, and I was 18. And looking back, I was very young at that time, and I've definitely grown up in the last decade in terms of mentally and how I perform. And but I think also having a lot of championship history, also championships which maybe haven't gone that well before, and obviously championships that have gone well. But it's that kind of like roller coaster of emotions, and it's almost like every championships I bring that with me sometimes. And that can also be really exhausting. I think 2022 is when it like definitely took its toll on me. After that season where we had like Worlds, Commonwealths, Europeans, and the year after Tokyo, which was like the second the year after it was meant to be. In 2022 I was like, I am done. Like I'm absolutely done. I actually can't do this anymore. It was
I think so many of us felt like that in a strange way. I don't know if you were the same, Hannah, but because we went back to back into Commonwealths in the middle, didn't we? And then it was Europeans at the end, and I lost all my luggage between flying from Eugene to Birmingham. And I rocked up first day of working at the Commonwealth Games. I was like, I literally don't have
to go home.
I don't have anything to wear. I was so jet lagged. I actually don't know what to do with myself. I just cried, and my colleagues were like, "It's okay, everything's gonna be fine."
But no, I mean, it's I think what you lot went through trying to train for Tokyo, it finally happening, and then the change in pace of life and competing to go to totally the other end of the spectrum in 2022. Yeah. I think, how you lot have bounced from the last 5 years for the pros has been brutal. So I'm not surprised to hear 2022 was a big drain mentally. 2024 was as well. Like I think it's really hard to give credit to you lot what you've done in the last 5 years, and I think we're seeing a lot of athletes making changes, whether it was last year or this year, sort of realizing they have to do something different.
Yeah, I think we do, because it's been so different. Even like with the World Indoors last year, I was like, I'm not doing it. Like, I was like, we have one the year out. Like, I was like, there has to come a point where you just have to put your mental health first as well, because the best thing is we do have so many opportunities, which is amazing. But trying to do everything can lead to that burnout. Like, in 2022, I remember just being at Europeans and just chatting to Robbie and just being like, there's been points where I'm like, I don't want to carry on, but I think that was the only real point where I was like, I can't even see a future. Like, at this point, I'm like, there's nothing, I can't carry on. So we had a conversation. He was just like, just one more year. I think because at that point I was like, I've done all this and I still haven't got a major medal. And even like looking back, I'm like, I was still really young, but I just, at that point, I feel like I've been doing it for so long and I still hadn't like had the reward that I wanted. So he was like, just do one more year. And if at the end of that year, like, you've basically done everything you can, and if it still isn't a medal of what you wanted, then that's fine. Going into 2023, it was that I'd done absolutely everything and all I wanted was a medal, and I came fourth. And I think everyone was like, oh my God, that was like amazing, you came fourth. Like, from the year before where I hadn't really done that well, and I hadn't been anywhere near that point, but I was like, I did all this for a medal and I came fourth. So I found 2024 so hard, because I was like, I almost had this like thing to myself, right, have a whole year, and if you don't medal, then that's fine, like you can just stop. But I was so close that I was like, I can't stop now, but also I haven't achieved what I wanted. So I think that's also why that Olympic year was so hard, because I was almost like, I kind of told myself I wasn't going to do this again if I hadn't medaled. And I think that's the thing about being an athlete. There's always more, like there's always more you want to chase, because I maybe could have come third and then I would have been like, I wanted to win.
So what about getting that 2 meters finally then this year? Because it's not a medal, but it's so, I don't know, invaluable in a way in high jump. We talk about this all the time on the podcast, those marker points in the different sports in athletics that signify kind of world-class level. And for sure in the high jump, it's that 2 meter barrier. What does that mean to you, having that now?
I feel like there was just so much emotion in that jump and in that like milestone of hitting 2 meters. And I think for me, when I jumped it, it was just that feeling of like, I'm just so glad I didn't give up, because 2 meters was always my goal. Like, I always wanted to be the first British woman to jump 2 meters. And it was always like such a big thing for me to jump 2 meters. So when I did it, it was just so much emotion of like, this is everything. Every single time you've like wanted to quit and haven't, and that's happened over and over again. And then, like jumping it, I was like, no one can take this away now. Like, it was just the best feeling. And I think it was like, a great time to do it as well. Like with, I think being in that Diamond League final where it was just such field focus as well. Like, it was just such a great atmosphere, and it was just, it was such a fun competition and a really nice place to have done it.
And it's kind of it's a blasé question. It rolls off the tongue, but jumping that 2 meters, does it make it worth it? And because it's really hard, isn't it? Like, that's the kind of cruelty of sport. It can be months and months and years of disappointment and hardship, and you're trying to keep that faith that it is all worth it if that one thing comes off. And it's so it's nice. It's nice to hear that.
No, it definitely was. And I think I didn't think so. I don't know. I didn't think I'd be emotional when I jumped it, because I always said, right, if I jump 2 meters, like, you have to carry on and go for the next bar. And then, I literally just burst into tears. So I was like, okay, I can't really control this emotion now. But yeah, no, it did. It was a great moment, basically.
And a height, something like Katie said it, it's a barrier, that 2 meters. It's a bit more personal, isn't it? It's not as much as kind of you getting a medal at a championships or all that sort of expectation people pile onto the events. It's a nice bit more self-contained jumping that personal best. And I feel like we've touched on it. You've been in the spotlight in terms of athletics for a long time. Like, has that ever felt overwhelming, sort of that expectation from the public and all that? And I'm just wondering how that's, you said you've grown up as an athlete in the last decade, but you've had to do that alongside a lot of attention, I guess, a lot of sort of public attention.
I definitely have found it hard. I think when I look back at my career, it's like I've pretty much made the major championships every single year since the age of 17, which is crazy that year on year, even I'd be having like the worst year, I could always turn it around and make a championship. And I think sometimes that took absolutely everything out of me just to make a championship. And then I go to a championship exhausted, not perform probably where I'd want to perform or where the public want me to perform. And then I would just get like quite a lot of criticism. And I think that kind of cycle really took its toll as well. It's like, behind the scenes, sometimes you don't realize what an athlete's going through to make that championships. And then, no one's more disappointed about their performance than the actual athlete. I think that was definitely hard. But with this year, I think going into this year thinking I'm just going to have a year where I'm just going to see where I'm at, and being a really successful year, obviously then jumping 2 meters 2 weeks before the championships was amazing. But then that did come with, I would say, obviously added pressure. But I think after jumping that 2 meters, I was just exhausted. Like, I really tried to tell myself that I wasn't. Going into Tokyo, I was like I'm in the best shape of my life. But I think, hitting such a huge personal barrier, something I tried to do for the last 10 years, it was almost like it was like mission accomplished. But then I had to go again and do something which wasn't actually one of my goals for the year. My goal for the year wasn't to medal at World Champs. It was to make the final and come top 8, which I did. So I actually walked out of Tokyo really happy. But I think it was almost like that expectation that I should have medaled and I didn't medal. And again, it was like, I don't know. There comes a point where I'm like, okay, I've just got to just go for my own goals.
No, just on that, just when you say that, it's kind of, you don't want to, you want to protect yourself by sort of saying, I'm going for my own goals, but you also, by dampening that and sort of saying, oh, I'm not going to take all that on board, that's also quite hard, because you want to go into that arena kind of excited and chasing opportunities. But I honestly, I've watched you over the years and just gone, well, people just acknowledge what she is achieving here, the consistency and the level of performance, without sort of just chucking that expectation on the whole time.
But it sounds like the criticism is super tough as well, because I think it's so easy for us lot who, like you say, aren't behind the scenes for like the 364 other days of the year that you're training for this one moment or this final, or the bit that the public actually tune in to see. I just wonder how you deal with that. Do you find it difficult not to see what people might be saying or hear it, in broadcasts and things like that?
Yes, it's definitely something I'm working on. I think I've gone into so many major championships thinking people are expecting me not to do well. And I think going into a championship with that mindset is really hard, because it's almost like you can't just focus on what you're doing anymore. And it's weird, because after Tokyo this year, I was genuinely really happy. Like, I had my post competition interview afterwards, and I was really happy. And because I hadn't done badly, like I felt like I hadn't underperformed. Like, I jumped 93 first attempt, and it was first attempt 97, which I hadn't actually jumped 97 all year apart from that 2 meter jump. So it wasn't like I've consistently jumping 97 all season. Like, I hadn't jumped it all season. And so I kind of walked out the championships like, oh, I'm actually really happy with that performance. And to then see so many comments which were just so negative, I was like, oh my god, like, it really, really surprised me, because I was like, I actually didn't. There's been times where I'm like, yeah, I did underperform, but this time I was like, I really didn't underperform. So, and I think after that, I was like, to be honest, there's actually nothing I can do where someone's not going to be negative about it. I think if I'd maybe got a medal, there was still going to be negative comments if I jumped my 7 and not 2 meters and just things like that. So I think after that, I was like, I've actually just got to stop letting it get to me, because yeah, I walked out the championships happy, and then like an hour later was really upset with the performance only because of other people, what other people had said. So yeah, I think after that I was like, right, okay, I just need to just not look at it anymore.
Is there a tiny element of that move to Sweden helping any of this, or is social media just too rampant? You know, just that dislocation of being away from Britain.
Yeah, no, I think it definitely did, like especially throughout the season. Yeah, I almost just felt like athletics was something different. Like I had this like life in Sweden, and then I was like do athletics and then come back to Sweden, and it didn't feel like all encompassing. But I think when I was in a championship environment, it was like almost like back to that again. So something I need to work on again, which I will. But yeah,
but you're not busy enough working on, you know, actual high jumping.
Yeah,
exactly.
But it's, you know, you should be kind to yourself as well, because it's quite tough to hear you say it almost as though it's your fault. It's like something for you to deal with. And it's, you know,
Yeah,
it's
no,
also,
you're right, Katie.
It's on other people to
deal with.
not be horrible as well. I could use another
Yeah.
word, but I won't. We should talk about the final itself though as well, Morgan, because it was pretty like dramatic in the end, wasn't it?
Crazy.
So it was last night of the competition. I was doing commentary for it, and you know, it was all going pretty well and it was all building nicely and it felt exciting. And then suddenly the craziest rain in the whole world starts coming down.
Insane.
All the athletes are having to shelter out in what pretty much lane 9, wasn't it? Because it was the only dry bit of the track. Then it had to pause, I think, twice through, because every time they tried to get rid of the rain, it would just come down again. What was it like?
It was a crazy final. Like we had, obviously that crazy biblical rain, and then we also had the 5K going on, which we do have a lot of times, and it is really annoying. Not the 5K is annoying, but it's like you could. So where the D is, I'm like, why can't we just flip the high jump bed round so we don't have to like focus on our jumps and then focus on like the runners coming through and like having to time our jump with the run and with the like minute we have to go. So that always like throws another element to the jumping. And yeah, we also had some crazy height progressions. I think this opening height was 189 or something, whereas usually it would start at like 180. So yeah, and then went 189, 93, 97, and then the medals were determined in the third jump, which is crazy. And then yeah, the stop start, I think the discus was on at the same time, and they were even asked if they wanted to start the next morning. This is crazy. But yeah, that is sometimes just championships. Like I don't think anyone thought when we had all this like heat strategies and we had ice towels, and no one ever thought that it would be cold and rainy. It wasn't cold, but obviously when you land on like a wet bed, you're then cold because your clothes are wet. So yeah, it was a crazy final, and yeah, probably something we won't have again.
Yeah. Do you think it impacted your performance, any of that stuff going on?
Yeah, so I spoke about this recently. I was like, I think it did impact my performance, with like so much going on. But then the other half of me thinks, right, everyone was in the exact same conditions, and some people, I watched Nicola and I was like, nothing phased her. Like she was able to jump, I think she was attempting 202 or 204, and they were really good attempts. They were super close, and it was almost like nothing phased her. And I think it's having that mindset that almost it's kind of like a challenge, but like a fun challenge. Yannick always says like the best competitor at a championship or on the day is the one who's the best problem solver, and it's so true, because it's like, yeah, it is it is that everyone's got the same conditions, so I can't be like, oh, I didn't do well because of XYZ, when it's the exact same reasons as everyone else. So yeah, that was also something really interesting looking back at that championships and kind of bring to the next championships. It's like, okay, everyone's in that, and let's just make it fun. Like, okay, it's raining. Okay, how high can I jump in the rain? And rather than being like, oh, it's raining, like it's stressful, and just make it harder than it needs to be.
Well, I mean, it could be a good strategy for Glasgow
Exactly.
or Birmingham
Or
next year.
Birmingham.
But on that, when you say sort of the mentality of it, and you're right, Nicola Olasagas was pretty serene and pretty unshakable, but Daniel Starr was down the other end in that men's discus. Like that guy, he was the only one that looked like he wanted to be there. Yeah, and he totally
wiping his discus.
Yeah. He was just bowing
singing
to
along
the crowd.
to ABBA.
Yeah. It was. You're right. It's so funny, isn't it? Because you all want to have that response under pressure, but it's intense. It's wild. But good experience, I guess.
Yeah, exactly.
So how do you look back on Tokyo then, now that you've had a few more months? It sounds like you've had a bit of time to like go away, go on holiday, refresh.
Yeah.
You had those moments initially where you're like, I'm happy. Then you saw the social media reaction. You're like, oh God, I don't know. Where's your head at now?
Yeah, I was actually thinking about this before this podcast. And I was like, I think there was moments of me, especially like after competition and off season. So I'm a very emotional person. Like I can't really hide my emotions very well. Which is probably why I've cried on BBC a few times.
Haven't we all? Wait, actually, Hannah, have you ever cried on the BBC?
I'm only commentating, actually.
Ah, okay. I'll count that. I like that. Sorry, carry on.
And that initial reaction is my true reaction. Like, I think I finished that competition and I was like, okay, cool. So I need to work on this. There's like a few technical things. And I was like, in terms of like the distractions and how I was before the competition, maybe like focusing on the wrong things. And I don't know, I kind of came out of that competition being almost not thinking it was like a championships and just like another competition. And that initial reaction of just being like okay with it, because I knew what I wanted to do and needed to do for next time. It was, I think even like straight off, I was like, okay, cool. That was almost like a learning championships in a way, even though I've had so many championships, but this one just felt very different. And then obviously with the social media stuff, and also a lot of people straight after the competition were like, oh, I'm so sorry it didn't go your way. And that was the only thing that was assessed to me. And I kept saying to like all my friends, like, and anyone who said like, oh, I'm so sorry, I'm like, please don't, like, I'm really not upset about this. And even as time's gone on, I've been like, I really feel like I should be upset because I probably could have got a medal. And I've almost been like, what's wrong with me? Like, why am I not upset by this performance when I came fourth, it was like the end of the world, but I came seventh and I was like, okay, cool. So maybe, I don't know, 10 years down the line, I might be upset about it. But right now I'm like, I think I was just so excited by this move, but how this year went, the 2 meters.
Well, maybe it's because you've fallen in love with the sport again. That's what it sounds like.
Yeah, it probably is, to be honest. Like, I had just so much fun this year and so much fun in a new environment and competing and on the Diamond League circuit. And it was just the best year. So I think I went into that championships thinking, right, whatever happens, I'm not going to be upset. So maybe I was like priming that.
Is that a really significant mind shift to sort of allow yourself to enjoy a championships without that expectation that we've been talking about, that sort of expectation piled on? Like that's got to take a lot of effort to change that, to shift that.
Yeah, it was probably like a whole year of just being like, like kind of priming that. And the main thing about this year, I was like, I just want to enjoy this year. Like, even so, we had the China Diamond Leagues, like Xiaomen, I think was in April. And when me and Yannick were like planning the season, I was like, I really want to do the Diamond League in April. And he was like, well, like the World Championships are the end of September. So if you do this competition in April and just compete all season, he was like, I wouldn't choose you to do that. And that's not how I plan my seasons and plan your training for you to perform best in Tokyo. And I said, okay, cool. Like, I kind of knew that that's not how he wanted to do it, but I still wanted to do it because I was like, my goal this year isn't to perform well. Obviously I want to perform well in Tokyo, but I just want to enjoy my season. So I want to do this competition in April and do a full season of competition, almost half knowing that that's not what he wanted and that's not how he's going to prepare me. So it was kind of nice knowing knowing that maybe things could have been a bit different if I changed my season a bit, but I was quite strong in the sense that I didn't want to do that. Like I wanted the enjoyment to be like the big factor of this year.
And how do you, when you look towards next year, and there is big opportunities for British athletes for those Commonwealth Games and the Europeans, how do you have like a strategy in place for protecting that mentality of trying to enjoy it and not slipping back perhaps into 2024 and previous kind of mentalities?
Yeah, that's the biggest thing that I've got to do this year. It's like, I think the reason it was so successful was because I was enjoying it so much. And it's being able to kind of have that same enjoyment around a championship. Like, yeah, we do have 2 home championships, but I've also done a lot of home championships now. So it's not like the first time I've done it. And I've done so many championships now, I almost need to not even see them as championships anymore. I think that will probably be the biggest switch. It's like, the more, I don't know, I think I do see Nicola as like a big role model in terms of how every competition she does, even if it's just like a local meet in Australia or it's World Championships, she's the exact same person throughout. Like, it doesn't change. And I think that's also something I got from Tokyo, and watching her become world champion was, yeah, she's the same person every competition, and she doesn't have to bring this new energy just because it's a championships. And so, yeah, that's something I'm definitely going to take into this year. And I think that's also how you end up being like the best version of yourself. And yeah, I think sometimes I try and be what I think like a championship performer should be, and that's not me as well. So yeah, it's still a learning game. Like, so far into it, I still feel like I'm learning so much.
But because I think that's sometimes what we forget with you, is because you've been around for so long, you're still like, so young, and you've got so much to learn. And actually, Nicola Olasagas might be a really good like comparison in a way, because I think she's the same age as you, isn't she? She's 20,
a year older.
So she's 28. But you look at where she's at now and the progression, it must be quite exciting for you to think maybe the best is still yet to come.
Yeah, no, there's a few girls, like there's a German high jumper called Imke, and I think she's a couple of years older than me, maybe 30. And like me and Christina Honsel, we've all PB'd this year, and we're all like, 28, 29, 30. And everyone just, I don't look at them like, oh, okay, cool, like this is it now. It's like, no, everyone is actually getting better as we're getting older. And I think, that is the nice thing about the field events, is it is a skill as well. It's a skill-based event, and you learn more, you get stronger, you get just all these skills just kind of increase with age, which is like a really nice thing as an athlete to know that's still to come.
When you guys have kind of had been this dominance from Yaroslava Mahuchik that that's been, to see Nicola Olasagas kind of challenge that, and it wasn't just her as well, but to see that sort of shift, is that kind of inspiring as well? Like that it's all very much to play for.
Yeah, definitely. It's been a really like interesting year in terms of I just feel like women's high jump is so strong at the moment, and we are all around like the same heights, and it's just obviously who can do it on the day. But it's been a really, really fun event to be in this year, and just seeing that rivalry play out. And even with Maria getting the silver medal and jumping 2 meters the first time in Tokyo in that pouring rain, that kind of came out of nowhere as well. She'd had such a consistent year, and she'd brushed 2 meters a few times and been close, but to do it on the day and to beat Yaroslava was crazy as well. So it's definitely an exciting event to
you
be in.
Sound so inspired when you're talking as well. It's like, it's really, I feel like I want to have a go at 2 meters now. Just see if I can.
It is fun. And I think sometimes I've forgotten about like the fun of the event, and I've just seen it as a job, which it is obviously my job, but being in an environment where like all I did was high jump, you get to a point where it's like you almost can't differentiate between what's exciting and what's not.
So actually, then going back to sort of where we started when we were talking about multi events, and you're like, I'm going to go to Sweden and go back to heptathlon. Oh no, whoops, I'm still a high jumper. Where's your head at with that stuff now, the multi event side of things?
So I think when I think back at that, like after Paris was like, I want to do multi events, I think it wasn't I want to do multi events. I think as I just needed a change, and my brain almost couldn't compute where that change was coming from. So I was like, well, if I just do other things, then I won't feel that need. And yeah, it is strange. Like I mean, I've been a professional high jumper properly since I think 2018 or 2017 now. But I still think of myself as a heptathlete. Like, we had our funding last week, had to fill out our forms, and I was on the tram, like I wasn't really concentrating, and it was like, pick your event, and I picked heptathlon and then went to the next, and I was
Did
like,
you?
I'm not a heptathlete.
Oh, imagine if you'd picked like pole vault or something.
I know.
British athletics would be like, Paula
Like,
Dunn would have been like,
Morgan,
Morgan.
we need to talk. Yeah, so I think I still see myself as a heptathlete, but there's not really any part of me that wants to do that.
Did you talk to Jazz at all about? We actually interviewed Jazz Sawyers recently as well about
nice.
her sort of slight dip into
Pentathlon.
pentathlon. Did you touch base with her on that?
Yeah, we both got really excited. So we spent
Was there any trash talk going on?
Yeah, it was so funny. Like, the week after Tokyo, we spent a week in Japan, and we were just like, at that point I was like, oh, I think I want to do pentathlon as well. And we were on score calc, and we were just like, we can go to World Indoors, like we can medal. Like, we were just hyping ourselves up. We were like, we're just doing enough training, like all these goals. We got very overexcited, and yeah, then Jazz did start training for it, and I think I was like, oh, I'm so jealous. Like, when I saw she was starting training for it, I was like, oh, I'm so jealous, but also that part of me that wanted to do it wasn't there. It was like, I do kind of want to do it because I think it'll be fun, but also I'm enjoying high jump so much right now and enjoying my like multi training as well. So I was like, as much as it would be fun, I actually think it would be more pressurizing than I think.
Well,
I think it would.
because talking of pressure, actually, I still remember this when you kind of came through, and you know, from a British context, you look at Denise Lewis, then Jess, Ennis Hill, then KJT coming through. It did feel like you were the natural successor, and then it was almost like ruffling the feathers a little bit when you were like, oh, actually, do you know what? I'm going to focus on the high jump. But I cannot imagine what pressure there would have been on your shoulders if you had said, right, I am going to be that next woman in line.
Yeah, no, I did really struggle with that. I think, what age that would have been, like 17, 18, that kind of age where you're so young anyway. And yeah, it was like every time I stepped on the track, it was just that direct comparison to like Denise and to Jess. And yeah, I really did struggle with that. So when I moved to high jump, it was like, oh, okay, breath of fresh air. But then again, I got more criticism because it was like, okay, now she's just focusing on high jump and she's not jumping as high, or she's jumping the same height. And I was like, I felt like there was no route where I could kind of avoid it. I think a lot of my friends in the sport have said, I feel like you get a lot more criticism than any other athlete. And I was like, I don't know what it is or why it is, but yeah, I think just from a young age, I think I probably just had, high expectations, which is a privilege, but almost sometimes I feel like the expectations have been higher than they needed to be.
Well, and I think it's something to do with high jump, because I think, you know, you can throw out, there can be a height that you jump as a season's best or a personal best in conditions or in an environment that's great. And I don't think people necessarily appreciate how hard that is to replicate in a competition environment. And you've just spoken about the event as well and how competitive it is. Do you think there's a lack of kind of appreciation of like what it really takes to achieve it, to achieve those medals in the high jump?
Yeah, I think so. I think because it's so unlike any other event, I guess, apart from pole vault, like we're not just jumping as high as we can. Like, it's not, okay, just jump over the bar and then we'll measure kind of how high you jump. Some days you could jump 2 meters over 190, but you don't hit 193. So you only end up with 190. And it's like, so yeah, I think there is that lack of understanding of the event, and height progressions do make a big difference. Like, I went from 93 to 97 in Tokyo, and a lot of the comments were like, she jumped 93 when she was 17. It's like, yeah, but the next height was 97. So it was very different. And it is really difficult. And I think, sometimes it's hard. And I understand the criticism sometimes, because I'm like, yeah, I did jump 93 at age 17, but also that was my PB, and that's the highest I jumped like ever in my life on that one day. So yeah, it is a difficult event in that terms, and obviously it's super psychological as well. Like you have a physical barrier right in front of you and you know the exact height of it. So yeah, it's a fun event, but yeah, it can also be challenging.
I remember talking to Vilma Murto, the Finnish pole vaulter, and she sort of said that thing you can do a one-off thing as a junior, and then she was world junior record holder, and then it hangs over you, and it's like, well, yes, I could do that on one day, but I didn't have the foundation behind it to do that consistently, or reproduce it,
exactly.
and it's just just sort of thrown out there. But now you've jumped that 2 meters. Do you feel like that sort of unlocked something, and it's going to happen more often, or is it not as simple as that?
Yeah, I think so. When I look back at that 2 meter jump, so when I jumped 199 in 2023, I honestly had absolutely no idea how I did it. Like, it was one of those jumps I can't really remember, and it just felt like an out of body experience. And it was like, whoa, that felt like a true PB because it came out of nowhere. I then tried to jump 201, and I couldn't even. I looked at the bar and I was like, there's no way I couldn't even attempt that. I literally just ran through it. Whereas the 2 meters, it was everything, like I mentally prepared before every jump, but I like visualized how I wanted to jump it, and it was very technical focused. I didn't really think of the bar as 2 meters. It was just what I wanted to work on and the technical parts. And I almost like nailed every technical element I wanted to in that jump. So I'm like, I can really remember that jump, which means I think it's more likely to be able to be like repeatable because I knew how I jumped it. I also think that's why after Tokyo I was kind of happy in a sense because I hadn't hit those technical things, and there were a few things like I jumped into the bar, whereas Yannick's always telling me it's like hold my takeoff, and part of me is like, oh, it's not that important. And after Tokyo I was like, okay, yeah, it is that important. I'm gonna really work on that this year. Even like now in winter, like we're working on that takeoff position so much. And yeah, I definitely did hold that for the 2 meter jump. So yeah, I think knowing how I did it is like a big element of hopefully being able to replicate it again.
So before we let you go then, just final thoughts, I guess, kind of looking towards the future, not necessarily just in your event, but athletics in general. We've been talking a lot about innovations and how Grand Slam track has gone this year, mixed reviews. But on the field event side of things, looking at things like Athlos and seeing events taking place in the street, watching the long jump in Times Square. What are your thoughts on that? And do you want to get involved in more things like that?
Yeah, definitely. We've had quite a few street meets, or we always have street meets anyway, but having the Diamond League final as a street meet in that square was amazing.
Oh,
I
yes,
think there
of
was
course.
so many,
It
was so fun. And there was so many like great performances. Like I came third with 2 meters, which was crazy. 4 of us jumped 2 meters in that competition, and I think a big part of it was because we didn't have all those distractions. Like I didn't have to wait for a race to come past, didn't have to judge when I could jump. Like you could just focus on what you're doing. And I think it is kind of unfair in high jump because in a 100-meter race, they're not having to like check if someone's about to throw a shot put, or they don't have to worry about that. They can just focus exactly on what they're doing. And yeah, being able to just focus on high jump and just have the support was amazing. I think that's like a big part of why it was so successful and why sometimes like people jump so high in these street meets. It's because it is tailored to jump high and to jump well. And yeah, watching Athlos and Times Square and just having that like atmosphere, and I think just bringing the fun to athletics. There's obviously been so much criticism that it is, well, it's kind of like I guess people say it's like a boring sport, or there's no like, you don't follow a team like you do in football and things like that. And there's obviously like so many different ways to innovate it, and to see that happening successfully is obviously really important. So yeah, I think there's some fun things to come, hopefully.
Knowing there's the element of physically seeing how high you guys jump. So we always say about these field events, you take yourself out to a stand and you go up in the nosebleed seat, so you can't appreciate what you guys are doing. Not the same as street side. And yeah, I mean there's a challenge there. There's innovations in high jumps. The popular one they say is you can only have 4 fouls through the whole competition. Do you get kind of frustrated when there's innovations like that imposed or suggested? Like, what would be your solution, I guess, alongside, you said street meets are a good option, but for that stadium moment, what would be your solution for keeping it kind of attractive?
So I guess it's kind of what was it called, the Ultimate World Champs? I don't know what it's called.
Yeah, the
The
Ultimate
Ultimate
Champs.
Championships.
Yeah.
Ultimate Championships. So I think they're having 8 people for the field event finals, or it's obviously a straight final. And I guess that's also good because sometimes in championship, which is nice, we'll get like 15 people through to the final, even though they only want 12. But obviously, more people jump it. But when you have 15 people through to a final, in terms of like TV and how long they actually want the event to go for, it's almost like they go, okay, cool, so we're just going to start really high and have these huge progressions, so to almost wipe people out. And that's also not fun because that's not how our high jump competitions are. Like, we usually start a bit lower, and just have like smaller progressions and get that momentum and almost like build the story, whereas in Tokyo most people were out by the second height. So yeah, I guess having a smaller field size definitely helps that. And yeah, when it's like 4 fouls and that's all you're allowed, like, that's not high jump.
Yeah,
It's just changing the event again. So it's just, yeah, I think having a smaller field size definitely does help. And yeah, maybe a timetable. People need to, I think, look at the timetables and look at the longer races with the high jump, and maybe being able to just push the high jump bed back so we're not starting on the track would be a huge thing. Because even like, we obviously put our tape down, our duct tape down, and if someone spikes it and pulls it up, like, we've got to remark and things like that. It's just like, it's just so many things we have to think about, which we shouldn't have to think about.
I do think one of the, maybe it was the men's high jump, something was on at the same time as the 10K. Yeah. And I was like, maybe it was javelin. It was something going on, one field event that required the track at the same time as the 10K. And I'm like, geez, like, you look in here at 20 minutes where you're not going, like, the field's so spread out. It's really tough. And I think, do you think you guys were penalised then by sort of the men's pole vault running over so much? Do you think there was almost a reaction there and that's why you guys had tougher heights, or would they always have been the opening height?
They've done it. They did it in Rio in 2016. It was the same progressions. I think it went 89, 93, 97. And then, Ruth Bader won with 197, which, again, at the time, everyone was like, what's wrong with women's high jump? Like, why is it only one in 197? And then, it was a big backlash on women's high jump then.
And everyone was like, because you only gave us...
Like, because it was such big progressions with... Yeah, we basically just ran out of time. So I think when you look at championship performance like that, it's like sometimes it's actually not about the height. It's just about the way it's been set up.
And it's the nuance of the event as well, isn't it? People understanding that as well. I feel like that's my biggest take home from this conversation as well, is sometimes that there's things that we just don't understand are happening that are happening. Behind
There's so much happening on behind the scenes. Yeah, when you look at a score, scorecard, it's like, it doesn't always tell the full story.
No, totally.
Oh, well, thank you so much for taking so much time to chat to us. It's been so fun. And it's honestly, I think I speak for myself and Hannah, just so great to hear you sounding so positive and happy considering where you were, a year ago. So good luck for this season as well. We can't wait to see what you do. So multi-event or high jump or pole vault. You let us know.
Pole vault.
Plot twist.
Be a surprise.